Alright, so here we are. I've had all my videos now ready for over a week. I was supposed to release everything 2 weeks before the 1st of September. But instead I had to wait because I needed to ensure that the prompt that I've made is available to anyone who's not Swedish. Let me explain what I'm about to show you. So the screen you're seeing now with the color you can probably recognize. I'm on GPT. I'm currently on GPT-5, which has been a bit of a overestimated upgrade, but it's still an upgrade to something that's already become very powerful, meaning GPT and AIs and LLMs and so on. Now the prompt I'm about to show you is a combination of absolute mode with the rule of law. I'm assuming that the people that are going to watch this video, most of them might not actually have fluency in English, and that's fine. But I know that there are going to be enough people where every country that should be watching this will eventually have a viewer. Meaning, if you're watching this, especially let's say in the first weeks after this was released, and you have a background within jurisprudence, meaning a lawyer, you're, without asking to be, made into a representative of your nation. Now, what does that mean? Is someone on YouTube just saying this because they're trying to clickbait? No, I'm being serious. I'm about to show you a prompt where it pretty much doesn't go away from, it doesn't bullshit you. It doesn't try to trick you into ideas which are invalid, which the creators of this machine has been calling hallucinations. I would say it's an excuse, and I'll show you guys why. But for anyone who doesn't know what absolute mode is, you can just look it up online, but it's pretty much a prompt, meaning an instruction you give to the AI where they only give you the exact wordings of what you've asked for. They're not going to give you emojis. They're not going to give you filler words to make you feel better about yourself or your ideas. If you're wrong, you're wrong. If you're right, you're right. If it needs to be discussed, it needs to be discussed. If sources need to be brought in by the user themselves, the AI will tell you this. Now, the version that I've been working with has been a Swedish prompt, so it's been for the Swedish constitution. I have been working a little bit with other countries' constitutions as well, specifically the Spanish and French one. But I've also been very aware of the German court for their constitution. I only know in Swedish it's a författning. The text that I read from Spain and France, it's been more about, for the case of France, understanding their very unique position with executive powers for their presidents. And then for Spain, I was just curious. And it was an interesting case of realizing the sort of holistic copy of how every country is sort of agreeing with each other and their constitutions. Like the Spanish constitution looked almost identical to the Swedish one. The French one didn't though. But that's for its own historical reasons. With that said, let's show you guys what I'm talking about. This is the prompt. As you can see, it has a bunch of different languages you're not seeing yet, but pretty much in the prompt, you guys can go into the link on my description and click the document where I show the prompt's text. You can read it through yourself to see exactly what it is, but I'm not going to go through it now because I'm not going to bore you guys. I'm probably going to edit away a lot of parts of what I'm saying here just to be precise and direct, but it's a hard way of introducing something like this when there's no previous knowledge to it. But pretty much what this prompt does is that it asks you first, what nation do you represent? Now I'm going to say for my case, I'm from Sweden. Now what it does immediately is that it goes into the Swedish language, so whatever language you're speaking, it's going to go into that. And then it's going to ask that you look up the Swedish constitutions, because Sweden has several ones. And then it's going to say you need to go into that, you need to find the base principles of your constitution. Let's see if I said England so we can have it in English. Yes, following it to the Swedish instructions. Let's just go back to the beginning. So, back to when it asked in the beginning. If I say England, then it says provide the exact body of the legal source you want analyzed. For constitutional principles in England, supply either the relevant statute, article, or case law text directly or as a file. Answer complete. So what the AI pretty much is asking for you to do is that you need to bring in the sources if it's going to work with anything. And what it's going to help you with here, it's going to show you what the principles of your own constitution is. Now, I would hope anyone watching this that has at least read through constitutional law in their nation, they already know where they have to look. Now, what I'm asking of you guys to do is that you take these constitutions, you directly paste them into the prompt, okay? I'm not going to give you guys any further instructions. I feel like I've already given 90% of what's needed. If no one in your country is able to do what I've already done with the Swedish one, then that's honestly fair game. Then you guys shouldn't have it. But I'm 99.9999% sure that every nation that has relevance to this prompt, because they could use it for their own courts, they're going to know what I am doing here. They're going to read the text. They're either going to be smart enough to translate it to their own language, the prompt, so they can read it through their own grammatical logic, or they're already good enough in English to read the original prompt and see what the hell I'm doing. But pretty much this prompt is going to give you a sort of lockdown on how you sort of should navigate from now on when you're reading law. And I'm going to say that for the Swedish prompt, I have a more strict basis on what I believe, and I'm going to stand for what I've done there because I've specifically read Swedish constitution. But any other nation, I've tried to make this as helpful as possible without placing my own opinions upon nations which I have very little up to no knowledge about, if you exclude sort of international treaties and stuff like that. I don't want to get into politics which has nothing to do with me. You stay in your turf, I'll stay on mine. We'll take care of our own places. I've taken care of my place as a position in Sweden. I believe that I've done what I've had to do, and the scrutiny that will come, I believe is going to be very good. But I'm not going to accept anyone telling me that I've done anything to their nation. I've now given a template, a frame of how this prompt works. Anyone who decides to apply it in their own way, that's on them. But I believe that the absolute rules that I've placed in, it's going to be applicable to every nation. My asking that a country, which isn't Swedish, puts in their own sources when they use GPT, I don't believe that they can criticize me for that. Then I'm asking, are you guys a country that follows the rule of law? The rule of law is the same in every country. You follow every word that is in the Constitution, aka everything that is in the law books of your respective nation. If you're trying to critique me on that, saying I don't know anything about your nation, I'm pretty sure you're from a country that isn't democratic. I'm sorry to say that. And I want to add, I know that this video is going to be made during a time where the US is going through a lot of things. I tried to look through the Constitution there, the articles, the amendments. I'm not going to make my own accounts on what's going on there. I'm just going to state the truth of what I witnessed. That the American Constitution doesn't really have any lockdowns on threats. It's very worrying. If you're from the US, I would recommend that you don't use the amendments and you go into more of an open doctrine within grassroots movements. Meaning, I would recommend, for instance, I'm just going to say Bernie Sanders because he's the most current individual. However, I would say also to individuals that are African American, you guys have some of the most intelligent speakers of all time that have been recorded. They are not speaking to things that are abstract. They're speaking to actual principles and laws within the amendments, which are criticized. If you're from the US, you should know your documents are not as constitutional and as applicable to the rule of law as the EU. Now, Canada, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Canada has a better way of locking themselves in. But yeah, what I'm pretty much trying to say is if you're from the US, you should go into grassroots ideas of how you lock in the principles of your constitution. Because the constitution itself is built upon ideas that are either hundreds of years old or are built upon ideas that are from the Cold War or from post-World War II fears. Those ideas are not democratic. They are built upon fear from the state itself, losing authority. Now, I will not say personally that these laws are bad. The US is singular in their positioning. They, after the World War II, or technically during World War II, became the most powerful nation by far. They had half of the gold reserve in the world. So they had to work things out differently. Having the same constitutional rights as Sweden does within a system as powerful as the US doesn't work. I say this genuinely feeling bad for the US population, but this is the truth. You come from an incredibly powerful nation, and their constitution speaks to more than their own nation. However, now the consequences are falling into the borders of the US. And it's rippling through the rest of the world, but it's not doing it in the same way as it is within the borders. So please, if you're from the US, of course, go through your constitution. Maybe there are some lawyers who are going to say, what the hell are you talking about? Why are you saying this about my country? And I'm going to ask you, where the hell are your lawyers while your country is falling apart? I don't trust the US Constitution. That's my opinion. Now, you can say that I'm not from the US, But I'm academically read on your language. I know your history, and I've read about it. I know from the point of view where you can see everything as far as you can without stepping your own foot into the country. Okay? Fine. But if any lawyer wants to argue that they have any locksteps, then I ask you, put a parallel. You are answering to the rule of law. If you're going to speak to the US Constitution, you need to put in comparative analysis. If not, you're talking bullshit. That's just the truth. Any answer in isolation is manipulation. Thank you.